maybe in the summertime, I watched the entire pantheon of Scream film.
Are you including the TV show?
No, films. I did not watch the TV
Okay,
show.
well, you said pantheon, so I figured maybe that tangentially would have.
Honestly, I forgot there was a TV show.
MTV, if I remember right.
3 seasons.
And everyone hates it.
Oh, it had Bella Thorne in it. Huh.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Now I really want to watch it.
Great.
Netflix canceled Scream due to a contract dispute between Netflix and the Weinstein Company.
Oof.
Woof.
See, that's something they could have tackled. So anyway, I realized that I hadn't seen anything past 2, and I was like, I thought I'd seen all of these.
Same here.
Well, I had seen the one with Jenna Ortega, which I guess was...
Oh, yeah, the most... Yeah. The last 2 had Jenna Ortega, right?
Yeah, so I had seen one... Does she not die in 5? I was so confused, because I hadn't seen... 3 or 4, apparently, even though I thought I had. And then 5 existed, and I thought I had seen 6, but then watching 5, I was like, is this the one I watched? Because Jenna Ortega's in it. No, I think, actually, I had seen 6 and not 5 and thought it was the same thing, because they came out back-to-back years.
Yes, 22 to 2023. Yeah, I think, within maybe 8 months of each other.
Kind of like the first couple, which makes sense. And so it was going down this whole list of meta stuff and thinking about, man, I forgot what point I was trying to make. God damn it.
I mean, 4's the big meta one, right? Isn't that the making a movie one?
They're all the big meta one.
But I mean, that's like the meta-est of meta.
I mean, yes and no. The problem that I've had with the franchise so far, because I love the franchise. I think it's a really great idea. I think it's very funny. I think
3 is the one.
Well, 4 is also extremely meta, but they go out of their way to say that they're meta, which kind of makes it not meta, but also at the same time more meta. It's really kind of
right
at the point where Courtney Cox has to explain what meta is to Dewey. You're like, all right, okay, well, you've lost the thread here, bro. But I guess my point was that it's like there's a lot of great ideas there and a lot of potential there, but it just falls short of actual meta commentary. Like the first one's kind of impeccable.
Yeah.
But the second one's okay, it's good. Okay, I see where you're going here. And then the third one, it's like, it's not as disappointing as a lot of trilogy thirds, but it's like, if you're going to go down this road of being more and more and more meta, you got to lean into it, man. You just have to you got to go into it and without being bad, And if you're bad, let make that the thing, which the only person in that movie who, no, not that one, I guess the fourth one, who understands that is Parker Posey.
Was she in the third one or the fourth?
Fourth. I think it's the fourth one, now that I'm thinking about it.
The third one is the one they're making the movie.
Right.
Based on the movie, right?
Right. That's where you get into they start breaking the fourth wall. Well, no, I thought they started doing that in the second one. Well, either way, Jada Pinkett Smith is the one that's watching the movie, and I guess that maybe is that.
Well, yeah, one? They start making the stab meets, but I think in the third one they're making Stab 3. But that one's actually like where all the killings are happening, like on set of that film, and they're kind of like running through like, who is it? The director? Is it the producers? Is it the actors? Who's killing within this cast?
Oh, I thought that was the fourth one.
Is it? I can't remember. I get them.
Well,
I did watch them like literally back to back.
No, I did too. That's what I'm saying. I literally have done the same thing. I've watched them all back to back. No, I think you're right. I think it's the third because the fourth one is her cousin. Even though the motivation is the same, it's like because the third one is her long lost brother, which is, but he wants all her fame and all her success, all Sydney's success, because he was abandoned by their mother and all that stuff. So he created this whole thing and then basically engineered the whole thing from the beginning. And then you get into the fourth one and it was like her little cousin was jealous of
Oh,
all the
yeah.
success and fame, and so
Right.
it's the same plot. They just rehash the first one, but then go out of their way to say, "Hey, when you reboot, you rehash the first one, and then you have false endings and all that." So it's like it's meta, but it's a tired meta.
It's funny because that's like that's the gender swap, villain in that one, and then the third one is the like Jason Voorhees mom twist.
No, that's two.
Is that two?
That's two.
Okay.
The woman from Roseanne, yeah,
Yeah.
with Jerry
Which
O'Connell and
it's also like one of those things where as you see it
Liev
go
Schreiber.
through, like you're like, it's so meta. They're pulling from these other franchises to like become the villain or the set piece or.
And if you watch, yeah, especially if you watch it, they beat you over the head with the clues. Like they're like, because they were like, well, in the second one, they're like, well, most serial killers traditionally have been men. And then Jamie Kennedy corrects them and is like, well, actually, one of the most prolific horror movie serial killers is Jason Voorhees' mother, a woman. And then it turns out to be the mother of the guy from the first one. And you're like, okay, all right, yeah, I get it. My biggest complaint, honestly, was that they killed Jamie Kennedy in the second one because you needed that connective thread. You did. You had to have the outside sort of Deus Ex Machina explanation guy, or more like a Greek chorus explaining the whole thing or whatever. And then he dies in the second one as just kind of a cheap plot device. But then they realized their mistake because in the third one, they get that video of him like, well, if you're watching this, I died in the second movie.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, come on. And then that's why the
And you have the nerds who are doing the same thing in the fourth one.
right, but that's why it was kind of lame. They reversed the thing where they were the ones who were the killers instead of the Jamie, because they were the Jamie Kennedy characters essentially. Which was kind of dumb and cheap. They missed a lot of opportunities to be super meta.
Yeah.
You could have taken this to a Cabin in the Woods plus level, but they just don't. I mean, they get to a lot of interesting things, like the geeky guys screen the first Stab movie, and it is actually the first Stab movie, except with extra new footage that you hadn't seen in the second or third movies. But then they reveal at the beginning it's directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Right, yeah.
They never showed the ending of Stab in any of the other movies, but in this one they showed that it was Luke Wilson played the Skeet Ulrich-ish character. But they only do that to sort of advance the plot of the meta-ness of the next one, and you're like, well, that's kind of cheap. Work within the canon.
To a point, I agree, but it's also, we're talking about the depth of Scream 4. At that point, you're like, wow, I'm overjoyed they have any kind of depth.
Yes, I mean, you're right, except for the fact that like the premise of that franchise has so much promise, and it could be the greatest meta living embodiment of the horror genre in general. And then it's like, yeah, they get close, and then it's okay.
When we're dealing again with sequelitis, I don't think they're ever going to come near that again. So just dancing around those elements, I mean, but it is what it is, and your expectations need to be at a certain level. I still think it succeeds surprisingly well.
Oh, yeah, for what it is. It's actually better than Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is a great thing on paper, but a very poor movie. All of the Scream sequels are better than that, even though basically the same kind of idea. But, I mean, I do appreciate the Lance Henriksen as Wes Craven thing. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just like, what a chef's kiss. Oh, and Patrick Warburton in, was it 3? Yeah, it's 3. Patrick Warburton in 3.
Was he a bodyguard?
He was like the head of security-ish, but he wasn't a bodyguard. He was like more of a...
But wasn't he for one of the main actress?
Yeah, well, Parker Posey, who was playing Gail Weathers, the Courtney Cox character. He wasn't a bodyguard per se. He was more her director of security, because Dewey was technically her bodyguard. He was living in the trailer in her empty lot or whatever.
Right.
He was supposed to be the bodyguard, and he was terrible at it because he's Dewey, who is one of the worst of the DuckTales crew. And
I don't know. I think Huey's quite the piece of shit, personally.
No, yeah, that's true. But in Louis, I mean,
We don't even talk about Louis.
the addiction, I know. I guess that's what I was trying to get to, is that the Scream franchise, the meta-ness of it is delightful. And in 4, I think there's a lot of like well thought out stuff. 5, there's some well thought out stuff, but it never really reaches its potential. There's so many things you could go, man, if you just did it this way, this would be a such better movie. But they just kind of wuss out like halfway through, and then
I felt like they had almost a Herculean task there to really nail that. I don't think they were ever going to get it, and I'm glad they swung at it.
yeah, no, I
connect,
agree.
but-
I feel like it's a building block to something in the future. But I mean, it's kind of a Cabin in the Woods type. It has a lot of potential to do all those things. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the remake of Evil Dead. Not the newest one, but the original remake of Evil Dead in 2013. It doesn't quite know what it is. It doesn't know how to reboot itself. It doesn't know how
right.
serious or funny it needs to be. It just
Yeah.
doesn't know. And the fact that Cabin in the Woods had just come out kind of makes it go, well, now what are we? It should have been Cabin in the Woods, but it wasn't. They had to like try to be more serious. That's what the Scream sequels feel like. It can to do as much as we can. Because there's a lot of thought put into those movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, that's Scream.
Yeah, this is our weekly Scream cast.
We weren't even talking about Scream.
Screaming at the sky.
Old man shakes fist at clouds. Nailing it.
Yeah.